I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. Well, before we get to that, talk about something more familiar to us, and that is leadership, like CEOs and other institutional leaders. And how many of us would be shocked if Monday morning we find out that another CEO has gotten $1 million bonus packed on top of their already $6 million salary? How many would be shocked if that happened? Or how many would be shocked if they found out that another politician was found to be corrupt and they're going to take him because of all the money he was getting under the table? Anybody be shocked about that? I didn't think so. Me neither. What was at least surprising, and yet maybe shocking, I don't know, was a news report that came out around April 15th, so about 10 days ago or so. And maybe you saw it. I think it was on CBS where I saw it. And it was about a guy named Dan Price, who heads up the Seattle payment processing firm, Gravity Payments, and that he founded. And he had pledged to make sure that all of his staffers make at least $70,000 annually in the next 3 years. Everybody who works for him. Wow. Well, how is he going to pay for that? To do that, he's cutting his $1 million salary to $70,000 and dipping into the firm's annual $2 million in profits. Anybody shocked? This will double the pay of about 30 of his workers and will mean significant raises for an additional 40. Wow. Now, that's not laying down your life. But if we ever get to the point where we're really terribly critical about the CEOs who are making all that much money, and we could easily be critical of it, I'm not saying we can't, but we could ask ourselves, if I was this Dan Price, would I take my $1 million salary and cut it to $70,000 so that all my workers can make at least $70,000 a year? Would I do that? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. That's quite a witness, isn't it? It's not quite what Jesus did when he laid down his life for his sheep. And anytime we look at the cross, there is the reminder that he gave all he has and all of who he was in laying down his life and pouring it out, bleeding into the ground for us, for you and for me. Not just some old kind of general broad scope of people, well, that's all true, but if we take that personally, then we get the effect of what it is. He laid down his life. He poured out his life for us. That is what a good shepherd does. Just as we know that there is a point in relationships where it's like, are you with me or not? Sometimes when we're not, we got to catch up later. Okay, so first thing is that the Good Shepherd pours out his life. And there's a way to look at it in our own secular world too. Way to judge that. The second thing it says is this: I know mine, and mine know me. Sometimes, perhaps we forget how well God knows us. He knows us better than we know ourselves. It's like if you had a really good friend, could read your heart. And they know what we feel before we are aware of it ourselves. But God's even better than that, a whole lot better than that. He knows us. I know mine. And we are called to come to know him. Him who knows us, we are called to come and know who he is in our life. And because we know we belong to him, and hopefully we experience that belongingness, that we belong to him, we will also know that we belong to all who are his. I know mine, and all of mine know me, and are to know each other. And if we have any ounce of human compassion and are aware or awake at all, we can tell those moments which kind of touch our heart. We see them on TV. We see them in daily life. We know when someone's being too harsh. We know when someone needs some compassion. Whether we respond or not's another thing, but at least we know it touches our hearts. And in fact, in this news report, Dan Price said that 50 workers will already earn more than $70,000. We're nearly as excited about the news as about the news of their lower paid workers, that they're going to get more pay. They are happy that the folks that enable them to be higher earners, their team members, will be taken care of. We come to know that because of the one to whom we belong, who knows us. Beloved, we are God's children now, but we shall later be as not yet been revealed. But we are God's children now, not just as individuals, but belonging together. Some years ago, I read an article in the paper, I forget where or when, but it's kind of stuck with me. And it was about an HR person in a small firm. And when there was any decision to be made between two people who were interviewing to be employees, and he didn't know who to choose, he said what he'd always do is he'd take them out to dinner with them. And he would watch to see how they dealt with the servers and the busboys or whoever's bussing. You know why he did that? To see what their heart was like. Do they know they belong to other folks? I know mine, mine know me, and mine are called to know each other. And the third thing he says that I'll talk about is where he says, and others will hear my voice. That means that he calls not just the people of the Israelites, the Jews, but he's going to call others. All others will come to hear his voice. And now that he's gone from the earth, how is that going to happen except through us? That what we do calls others to hear his voice and calls others to belong. To beat this Dan Price thing into the ground, here we go. So Dan told the CMM Money that he isn't the only CEO looking to close the income gap. He's heard from almost 100 CEOs by way of email and text say that they support his move. And Dan says, I don't know if we'll see enough to move the needle, but I think people of my generation are committed to making a change. That what we do affects other people. Our example can be an example to touch the hearts of others to follow Christ, even if they don't know Christ, but to follow his way and to follow Christ because others too will hear his voice and follow him. The Good Shepherd who knows us, calls us to follow him, who's laid down his life for us. Well, once there was a religion teacher in Catholic high school, and he made an assignment for their midterms, and he told the students that he wanted them to memorize Psalm 23. We all know what that is. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Okay, all right, oh, here you go. So the student came in for his oral test, and the teacher says, okay, please recite for me Psalm 23. So the student says, the Lord is my shepherd, and blanked. And then he says, and that's all you need to know. Except this, that we're called to be like him.